Okay, by now hopefully you have downloaded the troubleshooting guide flowchart that you see on the screen here. If you haven't, please download that PDF from the link just above this video. So we're going to go through a few things here. This is for existing customers who have had Label Connector for some time and are experiencing problems with printing, which I will start off by saying these are usually not related to Label Connector itself, but are more related to some of the background processes that we run and some of the things that Windows does to just print to a printer, and also could be related to Bartender. But let's go through the flow chart here that you see on the screen and that you've got downloaded. You've got Label Connector, you're an existing customer, and you go into Label Connector and you select the print button, and basically you get no result. Nothing prints, no messages. Maybe you get an hourglass for a moment and nothing prints. Usually, ironically, this is not related to Label Connector, as I mentioned, so we need to start at the back end of the system with the printer and work our way forward towards Label Connector, because we're needing to start with the last processes that happen to simplify this problem and work our way towards Label Connector. So let's take a look at the flow chart here quickly. So basically, if labels are printing, you're fine. Label Connector is okay. If labels are not printing, the first thing we recommend is that you go into your printer driver and try to print a test page. Now this can be done. Let's take a look. This is in Windows 10. Going into the settings, go into your devices, go into your printers and scanners, and I'll just use this Zebra printer as an example. Okay. How you manage and get to this location might be slightly different for Windows 8, but it's in Control Panel under Printers, and Faxes in Windows 10 is under the settings the way I showed here. So if you go into Manage and go to not Printing Preferences but Printer Properties, you can directly print a test page from here. You can also open the print queue, which we recommend as well. Let's take a look at that quickly. If you open up your print queue, if you see jobs all piled up in here, then you've obviously got some sort of a communications problem with your cable, or your printer has an error message on it that you need to kind of pay attention to, but it's basically a printer issue and it's not related to Label Connector, because if there's jobs piled up here in the queue, that means that Label Connector did print those jobs, but they're just not making it across the cable, or the printer is in some sort of error condition. Sometimes it's as simple as the printer is paused, so make sure it's not paused. If you do need to clear out all these jobs that have accumulated, sometimes the best way to do that is pause the printer right here by selecting this, and then cancel all the documents, and then remember to unpause the printer after you've cleared out all the documents, because sometimes just the sheer list of accumulated print jobs that are piled up here will prevent printing. So first you need to flush out everything that's in this print queue if you do have things accumulated in there. Again, this is not related to Label Connector. This is a printer issue. So you can also contact, if you've got a Zebra printer, you can contact Zebra support as well, or whomever you purchased your printer from should be contacted if that's the case. But you can print the test page here, which we recommend as well. And if that does not print, again, you've got a printer related issue, not a Label Connector issue. You can do that from within here as well. You can print the test page, and in Windows 8 that's where you have to go. So if printing a test page fails, again, trying to print more jobs from within Label Connector is futile, because the printer on the back end of your system is no longer operating. And again, if your printer is no longer operating, you should contact your printer vendor. If that was AccuWare, then please do contact AccuWare and we'll help you get your printer operating again. So that's sort of step one in the flow chart. So we've gone through a couple things there. If you are able to print a test page So here, again, if you can't print a test page, we mentioned this, which is some of the things that we've just gone over. If you are able to print a test page okay from the printer driver, your next step is to go on to Bartender and open up Bartender directly, because Bartender operates on the back half of Label Connector and is sort of the print engine. Label Connector passes jobs and data to Bartender for printing. If your Bartender is not functioning properly, then Label Connector will not be able to operate. So what we would recommend is for you to then open up the Bartender application. Let's go ahead and open that up. So in Bartender, we'd recommend that you then go ahead and just try and print this template directly, to your printer, and make sure that that can print a label directly out of Bartender, because again, Bartender is sort of our back-end sort of agent that handles all the printing. We do our label designs in there. We do end up calling your template and printing it. So if Bartender can't print your template, then you've got a Bartender-related issue, and you can contact Seagull Scientific Support, which is the Bartender support group. And you can reach them, through their website and get their contact information there. We do put that phone number in our flow chart. So again, 99.9% of the time, you may have either a printer driver, a cabling issue, or a Bartender related issue, because Label Connector is simply calling Bartender in the background. So let's just look at our flow chart again here. Are you able to print directly from Bartender? If the answer is yes, then we do recommend that you get a screenshot of any error messages that may appear, and please do contact AccuWare if you are able to print out of Bartender directly without any nag messages. Again, if you need to get past a couple of messages that come up on the screen, like that you're in demo mode, or that you're temporarily allowed to use a printer in a grace period or something like that, those messages, if they come up, will prevent Label Connector from operating, and those need to be resolved, because we suppress error messages in Label Connector so that users don't have to experience the Bartender interface constantly coming up. If you are not able to print from Bartender and you're getting an error message that says you've exceeded your number of printer licenses, let's move on here to page 2 in the flow chart that covers those related issues. Okay, so you're getting an error message that says that you've exceeded your number of Bartender licenses. Basically what that means is that if you have a single printer license for Bartender, you're only allowed to print to that one printer. If you have a 3-printer license, you're only allowed to print to that one printer. If you are transitioning from one printer to another printer, you should get a temporary grace period where you are able to print to more than one printer. But if you're constantly switching back and forth between 2 printers, you're basically violating the Bartender license. You may have to have Seagull Scientific Support at this phone number help you through that, but basically you need to look at License Manager and only print to the printer that you're licensed for. So let's take a look at the License Manager application quickly. Let's see, I'll open that on my other computer here. Okay. Bear with me here just a moment while I open up License Server here. Okay. So this is what License Server looks like when you open up the application. And the way you reach License Server is you go to the Bartender program group on your computer, and License Server will be there in the Bartender program group if you have a single printer license for Bartender. If you have a multi-printer license for Bartender, like a 3-printer license, you may be running License Server's application on another computer, like a server. You need to open it at that location. in this license server box, you'll see the list of the jobs and the printers that you've been printing to and which one is licensed and which one is not. If you're trying to print to a printer that's not licensed, then you need to be using only the printer you're licensed for. If you need to switch printers, again, you can contact Seagull Scientific Support. There'll be a keep box underneath here that you can check to tell license server to use the printer that you intend to use if you're switching printers, and then stop the license server and restart it again. License server runs as a service, so you need to make sure that license server as a service is running okay. Okay, so that's so much for license server here. So we'll exit license server and leave the service running. Okay, so in Bartender, let me move this over here so you can see this that I'm running here. Okay, inside Bartender, you can also go to licensing setup and make sure that you can reach the license server application. So if you're able to get licenses, then when you click the test button, you should get a successful result. If you are not able to reach the license server when you press the test button, then you may have a firewall blocking between license server, if it's on a different computer on your network, and this local computer that you're working with for Bartender. So you may need to have an administrator, IT administrator, enable exceptions through your firewall or enable exceptions through your antivirus software to make sure you can reach the license server on the computer. So let's go back to our flow chart here. Okay, so we covered a couple more things here. We've covered the case where you are able to print or you are not able to print. We covered here where if you're getting messages from license server that it cannot be reached, we just showed you how to go into the administer menu and go to licensing setup and try the test button. So that again can be very telling if your license server is on another computer and it's not reachable. When you get to this stage, usually the issue is with a printer driver, or that you're printing to more than one printer that you're not licensed for. So at this point, if you are not able to print your template from Bartender directly, this is a Bartender related problem, and I put in the Bartender support number here into the flowchart. If AccuWare is not immediately available, you can also contact AccuWare, but again, in many of these cases there's an entire team of support reps available from Bartender that are excellent. They're US based support to resolve your issue. So again, just to quickly review, basically the idea here is, you need to start from the back end of the system. Can you print a test page to your printer from within the printer driver? We covered how to do that. And then if you are able to do that, you should then proceed to opening up Bartender directly, and we showed you, again, you should know where your template is, and your templates are stored at the location that we show in the settings, right? So if you're wondering where your Bartender templates are located, you go into the settings in Label Connector and you can see where your Bartender templates are saved. So this would have been configured if your software was initially working but then stopped working. This is where your Bartender templates are. So you can open those templates in that folder and get to the place where your Bartender labels are and try testing them directly from Bartender like this. So hope that helps get you through the the initial troubleshooting with Label Connector from AccuWare for QuickBooks. Thanks.